Thanks for joining us today. I want to get your thoughts. I realize we're getting reports of these discussions of potential carve-outs now, but the legislation in California, as it currently stands, and as it's moving through the legislature there, what does it actually do for the reclassification of drivers in that state, and what does it actually mean for these different gig economy companies?
I think a few people have mentioned it doesn't necessarily change the state of affairs. The Dynamex case set this test forward, so it memorializes that test. It does have specific carve-outs for specific professions, but what's notable is it hasn't included the drivers. So the assumption is that it will encompass the drivers. There is a lot still to be determined going forward in terms of collective bargaining, whether labor's role in it. And so this really, what it does primarily is it makes it clear that there will be many more protections for drivers going forward in one shape, form, or another, and that will cost the companies.
Meera, I mean, you can look across different industries really over decades. In California, it's such a big market that when you do tend to see some sort of regulation or law go into being that affects an industry in California, it does tend to carry over into other states eventually as well. Is your expectation that this is what's going to happen here, too?
Absolutely. I think Governor Cuomo in New York State has already signaled that he has an interest in making sure there isn't widespread worker misclassification ongoing in New York State. And there are several states and cities that are looking at driver pay issues. New York City itself set a driver pay floor, and that tells you a little bit about how much it costs to pay people minimum wage. That's adding $750 a month into every driver's pocket. And so that is just one aspect of employee classification on top of the other expenses.
Hey, Meera, you mentioned that Dynamex decision and the test to determine whether someone is an employee or should be classified as an employee. It's called the ABC test. A, free from company control. Is that person free from company control? Do they perform work not central to the company's business? And do they have an independent business in their industry? Is your sense that every, say, Uber and Lyft or DoorDash driver would fall as an employee under this ABC test, or just the ones who work the most?
It's an interesting question, and I think often people forget, like, regular taxi drivers are also independent contractors, so it's not just the gig economy, it's the larger industry as well. But what is characteristic of the app companies is the level to which the algorithms direct the drivers about where they need to be, when they need to be, and how their pay is pegged to that. And I think courts will look at the very practical reality of inflexibility in a driver's ability to earn and an ability to earn enough, and that will weigh in favor of classifying them as employees.
Meera, quickly, I'm glad you brought up courts here, because we have seen over the years, these challenges around independent contractors and that status. FedEx comes to mind. I know there's some other companies over the years, too. Do you expect to see court challenges, and does the precedent make this argument harder?
I would assume there will be court challenges, because historically these have been very fact-intense inquiries, and so the judges in these cases need to look at the particular circumstances. So each segment of this industry is going to want to distinguish itself from the ABC test. So I certainly would expect that there will be court challenges.